Good morning and welcome back to Rise and Shine Yoga. I'm Paul from Oxford Yoga Studio in downtown Oxford. We're located at 18 North Washington on the same side as Red Naps. So as always, I want you to, this week we're going to start on our back. So let's start on our back. Try to settle in the mind. You can have your knees bent or your legs straight. And I want you to take a minute or two and just check in with your body this morning, from head to toe. Check in to see how your body's feeling on this morning. See how your mind is. Is it racing with a lot of to-do things that you're thinking about? And then I want you to gently, as best you can, just kind of try to settle the mind. Let the body be where it is. If your mind is thinking about things that happened yesterday or this morning, just let them be. Let those thoughts just go out of your mind. And if you're thinking about the things you have to do once this practice is over or the weekend or whatever, just let those go too, because that stuff's not here yet. And then just try to focus on the here and now, this time that you're on your mat this morning. Your eyes can be closed or open. And keep your breath, just a normal breathing, nothing heavy or straining, no ujjayi breath yet. And just let your body sink into the mat. And now still with just regular breath, I want you to bend your knees, bring your knees into your chest. And give yourself a hug for coming to your mat this morning. You can rock side to side if you'd like. Now I want you to bring your arms out to a T, and bring your knees over to the right, and maybe lift your head and take your gaze over your left shoulder. This is our first spinal twist of the morning. Let this just be a gentle twist. We're not straining, we're not having strong breath. We're just letting it be. And see how the spinal twist feels now versus when we do it at the end of our practice. And see if you notice a difference. Now inhale your knees back to center and your gaze back to center. And now take your knees over to the left. Maybe your gaze over your right shoulder. Again, we're not straining here. Just regular breath. Maybe your eyes are open, maybe they're closed. Now bring your knees and your gaze back to center. And place the soles of your feet on the mat with your knees bent. We're just going to do a couple what we call windshield wipers, moving your knees slowly from side to side, very gently, just like you're the windshield wiper of your car when it's raining. Still relaxed breath. Eyes can be open or closed. Your arms could be at a T or on your stomach. That one more time. Bring them back to center. Bring your knees into the chest again. Rock side to side. Then slowly make your way back up to a seated position at the front of your mat. Your legs can be crossed or in front of you. You can have your hands on your knees or in your lap. You're sitting up tall. Close your eyes, and as always, let us set an intention for our practice this morning. This intention can be for yourself, for friend, for family, for someone even that you're not on good standing with. Maybe you're mad at a person. Maybe you're frustrated with a person. So you might want to set an intention offering this practice for some healing for that person. And as you make your intention, we seal in our intention by bowing our head, bringing our chin to our chest, sealing in that good intention that we're going to use throughout our practice. The intention, as I always say, is a guide for our practice. If you find that you're struggling in the poses or the meditation, just come back to this intention, the reason you're doing this practice. This intention is an offering, and so you're doing good, no matter how your practice is. With our intention made, let us deepen our breath. Let us create that ujjayi breath, that strong breath, the deep inhale through the nose, and exhale through the nose. But we're going to constrict the back of our throat to make that sound, that fogging of the mirror sound. So let's start to take a couple of those. Deep inhale and exhale. And this breath, along with our intention, is our guide. Your breath should be strong and controlled throughout your practice. If you find that it's becoming shallow or too heavy, come back to that breathing, that slow and controlled breathing. Now let's roll forward into tabletop. Hands and knees, hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. We're going to do some cat-cows. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the head. Exhale, round the back. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the head. Exhale, round the back. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the head. Exhale, round the back. Come to a flat back. Bring your toes, big toes of your feet together. Sit back on your heels into child's pose. And as always, you can come to this pose anytime during your practice. If your body requires you to do this, then you do it. It's not about competing. It's not about who can do the most exotic poses. So let your ego go and come to child's pose if you need to. Now slowly come back up. Hands and knees. Come back into a seated position at the front of your mat. In the next segment, we're going to do our standing poses. So take a quick break, maybe take a breath, and we'll see you in the next segment.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That moment?
It was a moment that changed my life. I'd been training with my team for months, and now we had been called up for the first time. The real deal. Wildfires were getting dangerously close to homes. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.
This is OCTV, Oxford Community Television, serving Oxford and Addison Townships with the best in local programming. On Charter Channel 191, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and our website, OCCTV.org. OCTV, we provide local programming that brings you closer to home.
Welcome back for our standing poses segment of Rise and Shine Yoga. And you probably know this pose by now. We're going to start off with some Sun Salutation A's or Surya Namaskara A. So just take a quick look at your foundation. Make sure your feet are about hip distance apart. You're standing up tall. Shoulder blades are back and your gaze is level. So we're going to inhale, reach and rise the arms overhead. And maybe take a little back bend. Exhale, fold forward, hinging at the hips. Inhale, look up halfway. Maybe keep your hands on the floor or bring them to your shin. Exhale, bend the knees. Step back to the top of a push-up or plank position. And just take a quick look. Make sure your hands are directly underneath your shoulders. Your heels are pressed back so that you're one straight line. Now we're going to exhale all the way to the bottom, keeping our elbows in tight. We're going to inhale, straighten the arms, lift the chest to up dog. And then exhale, uncurl the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. And since this is probably your first down dog of the morning, maybe bicycle the feet in down dog. Eventually your heels will touch the mat. You want your heels pressed to the ground, your hips to the sky, your hands firmly grounded into the mat, fingers spread wide. Core is engaged, head is relaxed. And now from here, keeping your hands where they are and your feet where they are, I want you to shift forward into a plank position, and this is called pendulum. I think we did this last week. Now shift back to down dog. Inhale to plank. Exhale to down dog. Inhale to plank. Exhale to down dog. One more. Inhale to plank. Exhale to down dog. Now this pendulum is a great way to see if your posture and your hands and feet are in the right position. If you had to move your feet or hands during the pendulum, that's no big deal. But ideally, you just want to be able to shift to plank and back to down dog, keeping your hands and feet where they are. Then of your next exhale, look between your hands, bend your knees, walk, step to the front of the mat. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come back up to standing, really reach and rise. Exhale, palms together, center of the heart. Right into the next one. Inhale, reach and rise the arms overhead. Exhale, slowly fold forward. Inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, step back to the top of a push-up. Exhale, keeping the elbows in tight to the chest, all the way to the bottom. Inhale, straighten the arms, lift the chest, up dog. Exhale, uncurl the toes, lift the hips, down dog. And we're going to stay here for a few breaths. Make sure you have that strong Ujjayi breath going. If your mind's wandering, come back to that intention you made at the start. At the end of your next exhale, look between your hands, bend the knees, walk, step to the front of the mat. Inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, reach and rise, arms overhead. Exhale, palms together, center of the heart, Samastiti. Now, we're going to do a pose, or a couple poses that I don't think we've done before. The first one will be Warrior 1, and then we're going to transition to Warrior 2. If you do yoga for any length of time, you're going to do thousands of these poses. So I just wanted to implement it for today's session. It's a standing pose. your foundation's the same, your feet are hip distance apart, you're standing up tall. So for Warrior One, I want you to inhale your arms overhead. Now I want you to bring your left foot back behind you and put a little bend in your right knee. Take a quick look. Your right knee should be over your ankle, not your toes. Your arms are strong, but your shoulder blades are relaxed. Your left leg is straight, really engaged. Your hips are facing the front of your mat. This is Warrior One. And ideally, your gaze will look up to the sky one day. But for now, this is fine. And of course, you're breathing. Now from here, we're going to transition, keeping our feet where they are, into what's called Warrior Two. So we're going to bring our arms out to a T. Our hands are like a straight line. We're still keeping that bend in the right knee. Our left toes can be pulled in a bit. Your gaze should be over your right hand. Your knee has a tendency to come into the center. We don't want that. We just want to keep it over the ankle or the pinky toe. Shoulder blades are relaxed, and your hips and your stomach are faced to the long side of your mat. And then usually after we do a flow that ends in Warrior Two, we're going to go back into the push-up down dog pose that we did. So from here, I want you to windmill your left hand to the ground, step back to the top of a push-up. Lower all the way down, keeping the elbows in tight. Inhale, straighten the arms. Lift the chest up, dog. Exhale, uncurl the toes. Lift the hips down, dog. At the end of your next exhale, look between your hands, bend the knees. Step forward to the front of the mat. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, reach and rise. Exhale, palms together, center of the heart. And now we'll just do one more for our next segment, Utkatasana or chair pose, which I'm sure you're quite familiar. Bring your feet in a little bit closer. We're going to inhale the arms overhead, bend the knees and sit back into a chair. Take a quick look, make sure your knees are over your ankles, not your toes. Your gaze up to the ceiling or the sky. Core is engaged, arms are strong. Exhale, straighten the legs, bring the palms together, center of the heart, Samastiti. In our final segment, we'll end with our seated poses and then our final meditation and closing. So take a quick break, maybe get a drink of water, and we will see you in the final segment of Rise and Shine Yoga.
Okay, well, remember last week when you hit Vinny in the head with the shovel?
I do not recall that.
Of course not. Well, it was too graphic for the kids, so I'm gonna have to block you.
You know, I gotta make this
That's
up.
really not
This is
necessary.
Vinny's watch.
Welcome back to our final episode of Rise and Shine Yoga as we end with our seated poses and closing meditation. As you can see, I'm in a squat position at the front of your mat, so if you're not there, make your way to that. You can have your feet as wide as comfortable. Your toes can be pointed out at an angle. If this is really uncomfortable for you seated this way, just come to the ground. Just bring your butt to the ground. So what we're going to do is, basically it's called a Buddha squat, or just a basic squat. If you want to open up the inside of your thighs a little more, bring your palms together into prayer, and then have your elbows press into your inner thighs so that they form a straight line. This is a great way to open up the inner thighs. And again, if this is too uncomfortable for you, then don't do it. Just have a basic squat where your hands are in prayer in front of you. You want to sit up. You don't want to round the back or anything. You just want to be sitting up tall, smiling, hopefully. And then release. And we're just going to do, before we get into the final seated poses on the mat, we're just going to do a quick bind. So I want you to inhale your right arm straight in front of you, wrap it around your right knee. Take your left hand, wrap it around your back, and hopefully you can join your hands together. If not, just have the intention, maybe just put your left hand on your lower back. If you can take the bind, you want your feet firmly on the ground, if it's there for you. And if you want a little more of a twist, you can just twist to the left. Come back to center, release your bind, and now we'll do the other side. So inhale, really extend your left arm in front of you, wrap it around your left leg, take your right hand, wrap it around your back, and maybe take a bind. And again, if your hands don't reach, just bring your right arm on the small of your back. It's really the intention that counts. And if you want a little more of a twist, look over your right shoulder. Come back to center, release your bind. And now I want you to take your right hand, place it on the floor behind you, your left hand on the floor behind you, and come back into a seated position. So we're going to do Dandasana, which we've done, so you should be quite familiar with it. Your legs are extended, your toes will pull back, you're sitting up tall, your hands are right by your waist, your fingers pointing forward, your shoulders relaxed, your gaze neutral, and close your eyes or leave them open. Make sure the legs are engaged. Now I want you to inhale, your arms overhead, and exhale, fold forward. Take a bind, Paschimottanasana. You need to take your peace fingers, wrap them around your toe, or your hands to the shin or around the foot. Toes pulled back. And again, we're not rounding the back. We want to bring the heart toward our feet. Inhale, come back up. And now this pose I believe we did last week. It's kind of a modified bow pose. What we're going to do is you're going to sit on your tailbone, you're going to balance, then you're going to cross your ankles and just grab your feet and sit up tall. Balancing on your tailbone, smiling. Your core is engaged. Maybe you're rocking side to side. Maybe you're weebling and wobbling, but hopefully not falling down. And then release. Give yourself a little bump up. Place your hands by your hips, just a little bump up. We'll do that one more time. come back up on the tailbone, cross your legs, grab your ankles. And release. Give yourself a little bump up. Uncross your legs. Now what I want you to do is come back to stand or sit on your knees. So you're sitting on your knees. Your feet are directly behind your knees, so you're not seeing them. If this is too uncomfortable for you for sitting on your knees, maybe have a blanket and sit on them. We're going to do another pose I don't think we've done before called camel. So what you're going to do, I'll give you a couple options. You can start with your hands on your hips. You're just going to do a little back bend. And for some of you, that's maybe all you can do. And that's quite fine. Honor your body. But if you want a little more, maybe bring your hands down your thighs. If you want a little more, bring your hands onto your heels and really open up the heart. Again, if this is very uncomfortable, don't do it. Now slowly come back up, taking your hands behind your back. So that's camel. We'll do one more pose, sitting on our knees. I want you to bring your hands together, extend them over your head, and just inhale and lean back. And that's it. Just lean back. And again, if this is uncomfortable for you, just come back up to sitting on your knees. And come back up. Now, I want you to come back to a seated position, come back to lying on your back. Bring your knees into the chest. Bring your arms out to a T. Bring your knees over to the right, your gaze to the left. And compare this spinal twist to the first one we did. Hopefully you're feeling looser, feeling better. Inhale back to center. Bring your knees to the left, your gaze to the right. Bring your knees together. One final hug of gratitude. Rock side to side. Make your way up to a seated position. Now normally, when we finish with our seated poses, we do something which is called Shavasana, which is you're lying on your back for 5 minutes. But since this is such a short episode, we're not able to do that. But if you have time during your day, take 5 minutes, lie on your back, and it really helps calm you down. So in our seated position, our legs can be crossed. Bring the palms of your hands together into prayer, bow your head. Come back to that intention that you set, that offering. Thank you so much for practicing with me this morning. The light in me bows, shines, reflects, and honors everything and all of you. And as we end with Namaste.
This is OCTV, Oxford Community Television, serving Oxford and Addison Townships with the best in local programming. On Charter Channel 191, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and our website, OCCTV.org. OCTV, we provide local programming that brings you closer to home.